I'm Annalise, this is Zoe, she's a Maltipoo, and I'm going to show you how to achieve this cut. She's a little dirty, so I'm going to be using a shampoo that has a conditioner in it as well to also help with her longer length that she's getting. So first, after I wash her and give her a good bath, she's going to get about maybe a ½ inch or 3/4, or not 3/4, 3/8 inch clip comb, because Mom said shorter, not too short. Some people like to do the prep first as far as doing the paw pads and the nails and everything, but I feel like that takes more time in the long run, so I just do that afterwards, unless the nails are super long, which hers are not. Then I'll do those first so they don't get stuck in these or whatever thing you have. And I'm going to give her a face wash. This is a blueberry face wash. It helps with tear stains and it helps if they have any gunk right here. Also, it's just really safe to use around the eyes. Just don't get it in the eyes. And you don't have to dilute it, but some of them you do. Just look at the label. Get as much water out of her as I can. Helps with the dry time. Same thing with the towel. I like to towel dry them as good as I can before the dryer, because especially if they don't like the dryer, it won't take as long. He's not hurting you, you're fine. And then there is sprays that you can use. This one is the Stuff. It'll help with dry time. It also helps with the conditioner. I use it on all the dogs because it is a hypoallergenic, so it won't hurt any of those dogs that need the hypo stuff. I use what's called a happy hoodie. This helps with their hearing, so it helps so it's not so noisy. Helps a lot of nervous dogs calm down even if it's not for drying. Okay. You want them completely dry because otherwise your finished work won't look as well, or won't look as good, especially when, see, she's got curly hair. So you want to make sure that when she dries, you can feel back here, you can't feel any wetness. She's still damp, of course, but I had to give her a break because she's a little bit nervous. She might not like the happy hoodie too, so I took it off. Sometimes you have to readjust or hold for the drying of the face because they don't like the face dried, most of them. So I'm just going to take the nozzle off for this one. So none of my holds are working. She's not liking it right here, but that'll dry super quick, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to start with her body. So I'm going to get my clippers together. So she's getting either a ½ inch or 3/8. So I'm going to do either a 30 blade or a 40 blade underneath this. Make sure to oil the blade. Anytime you're using a blade, you want to oil them because they work a lot better. It'll help with your maintenance in the future. You'll have your blades last longer, and then you won't have to worry about it so much. Oil it about it says 15 minutes, but I just do it every time I switch to the blade. Also, when you do a longer length, you want to make sure to fully brush out the dog first. So, slicker brush, this is no pins, or the pins don't have any balls on them. The ones with balls, they don't work at all. Like, they might work a little bit for people at home, but not for a groomer. And you also want a comb, metal comb. Make sure it goes big to little. And it can be a bigger comb, it can be a smaller comb, it doesn't matter. For a poodle mix, you can go this way, or you can go this way, or both ways. I like to do both ways, especially when they have the curly hair, because it helps get all the extra little mats and everything out. This one's not really matted, and she doesn't really have any tangles besides on her tail, it seems like. So she won't take too long to brush at all. I like to keep them brushed for lengths 3/8 and up. If you don't brush them first and you catch on a tangle, it'll make a dent usually. That's really hard to get out. I like to brush the whole dog so I don't have to go back and brush her later when I work on different spots. It's another time saver. When you brush the ear, make sure to brush out. Don't ever brush in towards the ear because the ears are super sensitive and they can get cut easy, especially with even with a comb or a slicker brush. And especially white dogs. Don't know why, but white dogs are very sensitive. And with the inside of the ear, she doesn't have much, but usually you don't want to go all the way in. You just want to do the edges because if you brush on the inside, again, very sensitive. Having the AC on helps also with drying their faces if they don't like their faces dried at all. So normally I will, if they don't like their faces dried, I absolutely cannot dry them. I do the faces last anyway, so I'll just either have the AC on or the fan on, and that helps. And don't forget to do underneath the lead because that's where they always have mats when they have collars on, especially when people don't brush them at home. Comb. Always start with the big end first, then the little end. And if you catch any matting or tangles, do not pull, just go back to the slicker brush because otherwise it'll hurt and rip out their hair. Put this back on here. Make sure to check my work. So if there's any tangles, again, it will hurt. And also the clip comb will probably catch on it. And that will also hurt. Be very careful brushing underneath their stomach, even though they do have tangles and mats under there. It is very sensitive and they have nipples, so you can accidentally rip them out if you're not careful. And if the area down here will not brush out, just go shorter. Better to err on the safety side. Always be mindful of their joints, just like when doing their nails. You don't want to put their foot in an awkward position. Always make sure it's where they naturally put it. Same with the back one especially, because that's one reason, or one way you can get hip dysplasia in the dogs is constant maneuvering the wrong way. So the next step is to take your brush, take your clippers, brush backwards. Oh, holding the clippers. That's something that most bathers don't know. Holding the clippers, it's kind of like holding a pencil. It's like pretty much the same. It helps you get better maneuverability, especially when it's down here. If you go up here, it feels like you have like no control, I guess. So always do it down here. And then also depends on the different dog's coat. This one, I can go this way and it will take off as much as it needs. But most dogs like Shih Tzus or double coat dogs, Their fur goes that way, so it works a lot better going this way, which is called reverse shave. You can do what I do. I always go this way and then I go this way on those guys, and it helps. You don't have to back brush for those guys which this is back brushing, because you're going backwards anyways. But this one I'm not going to do that. And she asked for a short but not too short, so that's usually a 1/2 inch or 3/8, which is equal to a 4 blade, which looks like this one. So it's a little bit shorter, but it's not too much shorter though. So if they want like a 1/2 inch, but like they're like, wait, never mind, that's too long, then I would just go one down. This one, I have to go by what she said. She also wanted a little bit of fluffy, so a 1/2 inch looks like that's the right length. It's a little bit fluffy still. So I always go up to about right here, going this way, and then where the hair starts changing the growth pattern, then you go down this way. Back brush, back down. And then same under the belly, go towards the back. Unless you're doing reverse, then it's the other way. If you are doing reverse, you want to go on this side. You want to go, you're going to go this way. Going this way doesn't really do anything, but going up like this, it actually takes stuff off. When you're shaving or using a clip comb, always be careful of the spots that are danger zones. Like right here, this is the tuckup. Can't really see it with her hair that well, but the skin flap right here, you can cut that easily. Also the armpits, and right here, the hawk. This part's super easy to cut. When you're doing a blade especially, you want to put your finger on the other side, on this side right here. You're gonna put your finger there on this foot, and then it'll pull the skin this way, so then it'll be tighter and it'll be a lot easier to not cut the dog. So that's what I'm doing. I got my finger there. And sometimes they think they're helping by sitting. They're not, but sometimes you have to figure out how to maneuver around what they're doing. Especially if they're older. Some dogs can't stand that long when they're old. And again, always keep the legs in a good natural position so it doesn't hurt them. Oh, when you go down here, you want to go past the tail just a little bit, because if you leave that, it leaves a little clump and then it looks awkward, and a lot of pet parents don't like it. Got some tangles here still. So then you just blend it down the tail where it curves. She's kind of curving it for me already, so that helps. Notice I'm only really back brushing like up to the elbow and to about the knee on her. It depends on the dog. Most dogs don't need back brushing past that. Depends on their hair. If it's really thin, like hers is down here, then back brushing isn't really needed. With the neck, I like to take off a lead. Sometimes you can just have it on like somewhat like this, especially while you're new, while you figure out the dog isn't gonna jump or not. But I like to take off the lead because it gets in my way. And there's a spot on the head, right about right here. There's a little bump. If you go like this, you can feel the bump. You want to start right there. From most dogs. With her, she's got like that kind of poodle top knot, so I don't want to go all the way up there. So I'm just gonna go to about where it ends. And then just lift up the ear, go underneath the ear too. Be careful with the neck, because that's another danger zone. She's doing really good. Most dogs don't like this. And then right about here is where you want to start with the chin. She doesn't like her chin held, so I'm just gonna stretch the skin from the neck to get right here. And this spot is part of the armpits, but I'm gonna brush it out just a little bit, even though I'm going to shave the armpits. As long as she tolerates it. So I want to go back to where that spot was. Just shave down whatever's easy access without her lifting her legs. If she lifts her leg too much like that, lift up the other leg, and usually they compensate and stop trying to jump away. Okay, now she's all pre-shaved. I'm going to take a number 10 blade because I'm going to do the other shaving spots like the armpits, the Sani area, both sides, and the face. Always start with the face though, because you don't want to go face to butt, butt to face. She has barely anything. You're gonna shave the corners of the eyes, tilt your clippers like this, and just barely scoop. Especially when she has nothing there. You don't want to do too much. You can always go back with your thinning shears later and fix that. Also get the lips. She's got a little bit right there. Try to hold the mouth shut. They like to stick their tongue out, so be careful. Make sure that they're not sticking their tongue out. And just barely get it. It looks like that. Yeah, so the reason that I did the scooping is because this helps clear out the eyes a lot. Usually they'll have gunk or something there, and it'll help clear it out as well. If they have a really heavy gunk, you don't want to do it too hard. Want to make sure that you try to get as much out in the bath as possible first. You can use a flea comb, but if it doesn't move very well, then don't try it because you'll irritate them, and sometimes it'll bleed. But always make sure have it at an angle like this. Just like that.
Right.
Yep, just a scoop. Because if you go down like this, then it looks really bad and it doesn't really serve a purpose. Most people don't like it. And then the lips is just because they like to lick the hair into their mouths. She doesn't have it, but a lot of dogs get staining because of that. So you're just basically just clearing out the lips so they don't lick it back in and it gets all over their food and everything. If you get too close up to the nose, it doesn't really matter. For most dogs, it doesn't look that bad, at all. It actually looks better. It looks cleaner. I like to do it barely anything if I can. I only do it more if the dog moves. So we're not shaving the snout or the cheeks right now. We're doing that later if we do that. So armpits, I like to start over here. This is also a danger zone. It's got a really thin skin right here, so just skim it. Do not put your blade all the way down. And then they almost always have mats there, which she does. You can see it catching. So that's one reason that you shave the armpits. And I don't do it too much because otherwise you can see it very well, especially when they have a longer length. Pull it out a little bit. Again, skim it. And then don't go down too far again, unless they have mats, like right here. I have to get that mat off, so I gotta do it a little further than I normally do. And then when she puts her foot down, you can kind of see it, but not really, because I did it right. If you do it too much, don't worry, just have to try to blend it in later. Next, we're gonna do her Sani. We're gonna, usually if they have a tail, I like to hold the tail too. Lift up her leg just a little bit. Just out to the side, just a little bit, not too much, again, because hip dysplasia. You're gonna start right about where the tuck-up starts. Let me show you, she actually kind of has it already shaved, so you can kind of see where I'm gonna be shaving from up to here. Usually it's right here. She's got it up a little higher, she probably was matted. So start right here, and then go down to about right here where the you can feel the knee joint right here. Just blend it down to right there. Just always be careful of the nipples. Again, this is a sensitive area, so I'm just skimming, not going all the way down. And then the other part of it, you take the butt. Don't go up too high, otherwise they possibly release their anal glands on you, and you don't want that. That's stinky. Okay, so you want to go in a circle. So I like to start at the top. Be very careful of the butthole. Just do not touch the butthole. Just go around it. Just very slightly. Again, you're just skimming. Some people like it to go even further, like all the way down, or like right here. I do it around the butthole unless I see more like dirt or poop or anything, then I'll just go down. I'm just gonna skim it into the length of her body right now, but I'm not gonna go down because she doesn't have a big one. I'm just skimming this out for later. If you get hair in there, you can see the hair. You can take a toothbrush and get that out. Go this way. You can also go on this side, this way, and also up. And then blowing on it, of course, helps too. You're gonna hold her foot like this. You're gonna start where the nail is. Slightly go up. You're just skimming this part. You're not going in the paws or the pads at all until you get to this last one. And then you're just gonna scoop. And again, be very light with the scooping. If they have mats, you do have to go a little harder, but if they don't have any mats, don't worry about it. Because if you go too hard, sometimes it'll bleed. So it probably feels like a blister or something. Most dogs don't notice it. But again, start at the nails. Some dogs like to look at what you're doing. Stop. You can go straight across. Make sure that they don't put their nose there because the clippers can cut their nose or whatever they're putting there. Sometimes you can use the groomer's helper, which there's a few different ways. This is the original one. This one's like $150, but it's worth it. This will make it so that she can't move anything but her body like this. So it's a lot easier not to cut them. And it works better than a muzzle because most dogs don't like the muzzle. It'll be nice and clean like that. And you can use a 30 or a 40. You can use a 10, but it's not going to be nearly as clean. Sometimes you have to go up to here because they have matting there, which she had. You can cut it out sometimes, but it looked like stuff I wouldn't be able to cut out later. Okay, all pads are done. Usually I start with the grinder. If they don't like the grinder, I'll go to the trimming. But she seems to be okay with the grinder. Yeah. She's got really short ones in the back. So I'm just gonna round them out. Always make sure to pull the hair back. You don't want to get the hair caught, that hurts. Also, when you're using a Dremel, some of them have a release where it'll sense that there's hair in there. A lot of them do not. So always be very mindful about not getting hair caught in there. So when you're doing back legs especially, when they have a tail, you want to make sure to hold the tail out of the way. Like this. Even if it's a short tail, even if you have like just a tiny little bit to grab onto, try to get the tail out because then a lot easier to not catch anything. And then if it does catch, of course, immediately turn it off. Either cut the hair out or you can use conditioner to kind of brush it out, but it's usually just easier to cut it out. Again, I'm taking all the hair away. Also start at the lowest setting. You can go higher if you need to. It's a lot easier to get it not in the hair if you start it low. Again, try to keep them in their natural positions. So I'm going to use straights. You can use curves if you want. I started with curves to do this part because it's curvy. But I like to use my straights. I feel like it gets more of a curve somehow. I don't know. I can't explain it. You're gonna start up here. You're gonna take anything that sticks out after you brush it up. You can also use your comb. I feel like the brush gets a lot more, so it takes a lot less time. Yeah, start up here, work your way down. Just make sure it's all even when you trim it. I just go by the dog's natural shape, whatever they have. Okay, so right here, just a little tricky part. I used to switch to smaller shears, but it's a lot easier to just lift up their foot if they let you, if they're not moving too much. And just go down here a little bit. And be mindful if they have a dew claw back here. A lot of dogs have dew claws back here. Always make sure before you start cutting on them or brushing on them even, because you can get that caught in the brush. Sticking out, so I'm just gonna keep trimming. And then last on the foot, or the leg, you're gonna take whatever's down here and very carefully just trim across the line, so that way when they put their foot down, it's not dragging along and getting all dirty. Start straight line. Again, you can use straights or curves, it's up to you. Angle like this. Just keep following the line of the foot. Same thing over here, angle, and then straight. And then take between their toes, all the hair, and brush it up. And then whatever is sticking out from up here, you want it the same length as the body, unless the client wants it shorter, and then they will tell you. But I like to check it by brushing it down, putting their foot down, see if it looks natural. If it doesn't, you can also make sure that the dog isn't moving their foot, but you can also go around the edges like this. Okay, so this, I like to start at the shoulder, because usually their shoulder sticks out a little bit, and again, go straight line down. Make sure not to get their elbow, because I have an elbow right here. Usually you can see it after you shave the armpit. So you start at the elbow and go down. And you're watching for the paw pad right here. You don't want to trim that. Just go straight down. This foot's a little different than the back foot. Same thing right here. Again, be very careful because they like to move their paws. She's being very good. So you take the brush and you brush right up where the paw pad is, which is right here. And then be very mindful where the paw pad is, both of them, that one and that one. But you want to even it out with the rest of the hair you just trimmed. Again, so it doesn't drag down the floor. And then see, I'm not even close to it. If it's a shorter length, then I would just move it out of the way and then trim around it, but it's gonna look awkward with this long length, so I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna show you the other way of trimming the foot on this foot. Okay, you can hold on to the other foot if they're moving this foot a lot, so they're still. She's balancing on this foot. And around the outside. This way doesn't look as well usually, but some dogs you just have to do it this way because they will not let you hold their foot. You're basically following the nail line. So wherever the nails are, we start from there. Okay, so this part's a little bit more complicated. She's getting a longer length, so it's not as dangerous, but if you get a shorter length, always be super aware of the nipples. So you're gonna follow underneath here, you're gonna follow this line that she naturally has. Just get whatever is sticking out from after you clipped her. And then this part, again, that's the tuck up, so that's the really easy part to cut again. So I like to go this way, and it helps avoid right here a little bit. And pull the leg up, go from this part where it starts, and just follow the line. This also helps you check for mats, because she has another mat under here. Again, be careful about the nipples and the armpits. Just follow the same line and just skim it, barely touch it. Again, you're just following the line that she naturally has. I always start on this side because then you can better follow the rest of the dog's leg. I kind of leave this spot alone just because this is where her vulva is. It's where the male dog's balls are, so don't want to really cut those. So if I have to trim anything, I usually go back with the clippers and just skim it. Straight line. You can use the brush to brush it down, but most of the time the hair's already there, so if you see any sticky outies like this, you can just cut it. It won't affect the top and what it looks like. Just very carefully trim, like a little V down there towards the armpits. Good girl. Face away. Face away, Goof. Okay, make sure the tail's fully brushed out. She has kind of a funky tail because she's a mix. So it looks like she gets what's called a flag tail. You brush everything down and you kind of just go straight across the bottom. And Mom said shorter, so I'm going to do a little shorter than I normally do, which is just a little bit of a trim. A lot of people like to grow out the tails, so you want to just trim it just enough for the growth to start in again. Again, just the very bottom and then a little bit more because the mom said she wanted shorter. Sometimes I'll have stuff sticking out up here, especially if you didn't trim it right. So I just very carefully try to match the same length as up here. And then it looks a lot better, more blended. For the face, I like to use curves. They come in different types of angles. So sometimes they're like way curved. It just depends on what you're using them for. I like to use these ones which are barely curved because it helps with faces, especially when you get to the bigger dogs, you don't have to change your shears. So I'm gonna do the visor first. So that is the bangs pretty much. You wanna make sure that they can see. With her, she has like kind of a poodle top knot, so I'm not gonna take too much off, but I'm just gonna make it right here. You start at the corners, go in the front, and then go over. If I do any more than that, it'll look funny. But some dogs, you do it more like that. So I'm just gonna do whatever's sticking out now. Again, you have to keep combing and brushing it back down. Use that. Just whatever sticks out. And then she has some sticky out right here. So. Okay, so that's the first step. And then since I already did the corners of the eyes and the lips, I'm just gonna start with the lips. They have stuff that sticks inside their mouth sometimes. Try to get all that gunk out. Gonna make a line and just cut down that line. Just like that. You can see it right here. Okay. Most dogs are going to take a clip comb over their heads. And again, I'm changing back to my 30 because I'm going to use a clip comb. So she got a 1/2 inch. So if she didn't have a normal top knot, I would do 2 lengths up, which for a 1/2 inch would be 3/4 of an inch. So that would be this one. That would be the normal one for a normal top knot, but she doesn't have a normal one, so I do 1 more length longer. And I'm not gonna turn it on yet. I'm just gonna see what it looks like first. No, I might not even do a clip comb on the top. So normally with a poodle top knot or a Bichon head, you don't want to use a clip comb. It just depends on how long it is. This one's pretty long, and Mom didn't really say to take anything off, so I'm not going to. I'm just gonna clean up the face. Normally, most dogs look good in a short chin. So my favorite length for a short chin is a 3/8. Again, equal to a 4. I'm gonna pull her head up. I'm gonna go backwards from about right here, so where the neck starts bending, if she will let me do it. And I just go up, just as much as she'll let me. And that gives me a little bit of a base line to cut. So you can see it cut like right here. So then I'm gonna cut there. I cleaned up the chin, so I'm gonna start on the side, comb it down, comb this up a little bit. Follow that line that you made earlier with the clip comb. Stop. I'm gonna go this way. Follow the pattern. You can kind of see it on most dogs. They have it already from being cut. And then you're gonna take the muzzle hair, and then with her, she's got kind of thin hair, so I'm gonna use thinning shears instead of my straights or my curves. And I'm just gonna take some right here. Again, always be mindful of the tongue. If they stick out their tongue a lot, hold them like this. On that note, if you cut a tongue, which most likely will happen in some point in your career, use sugar. As long as the dog doesn't have diabetes, make sure the dog doesn't have diabetes first, ask the owner. And then you can just use a packet of sugar, or the owner will have sugar, possibly. You just have them eat it, or you stick it on that part where you cut, and it'll stop bleeding almost immediately. Shape it up into that top knot. Barely take anything off because she doesn't really have much sticking out. And then I take the thinning shears, blend it in more so it doesn't look so choppy. And just keep combing, combing and combing. Because there'll always be sticky outies no matter how much you comb. That's one side. Okay, so she has like no ear hair. If I were to cut it, which Mom said don't cut this hair. If I were to cut it, I either take straights or very light curves like mine and just trim around like that. Or if they wanted edged, there's another way you can do that. I would take my little bitty shears because it's safer. You take your fingers, so if you cut anything, it'll be the fingers, not the dog. And then you cut like right here. But little snips at a time, and you don't want to just go like a big snip like that because you can easily cut them if they move. And then also ears have little flaps right here. Here's you can't really see, I don't know why. You can kind of feel them, but see it right here, this little flap right here. So that flap is super easy to cut. So when you're edging the ears, want to make sure that you put your thumb even further out from that area, because if you have it just slightly right here, you could cut it and then it bleeds like crazy. So don't do that. Again, we're going to follow the line on the chin that we made earlier. And then all dogs will have that same cheekbone line. And then be very careful if you do this part, because again, the ear is right there. Don't do it if they're moving their ear a lot. You can also hold them like this, kind of. If they have ears that are long enough and their head's small enough, you can take your hand all the way like this and then hold it back, and then you can do stuff and their ear won't get in the way. Sometimes it's a little harder to hold them by their chin when you already cut it off. So there are ways to work around it. Like you can leave a goatee first and cut it off at the end. I've tried that method and sometimes it works for some dogs, but if they don't like their chin held, it's not going to work, of course. But it's easier than just holding their muzzle, which again, that's another way, another method to hold for this part and for this part. Like, it works really easy for her, but I can't do it on this side. So I just have to work with her. Hey, hey, hey. Shh. Oh, also you can hold them like this. Take your finger under here. It gives you a little bit of control as well. Good girl. Listen, she likes this better. Again, make sure everything is brushed out before you do any trimming. Oh, it's already combed out. Okay, so I'm just gonna take barely anything off just to shape it up a little more again. You're just gonna follow the line that is already there. If there isn't a line, it's a little more difficult, but you get the hang of it after a while. Relax. Good girl. Good girl. Again, be mindful of where their ears are at all times. When you get to the back part, hold their head down, if she will let me. Hold their head down more, and you can see it a lot easier. I'm kind of blending it to the neck so it doesn't just look like a big line. And then again, keep combing every which way. And then when you think you're done, you can give her a head shake. Wait 1 second, I will show you. Okay, so if you think you're done, you're usually not. One way to check is, again, she's not listening for the blowing. So take your ears and just lightly shake, give them a shake. And that'll shake out their hair on the top into a natural position, and you'll see what it looks like when they're running around at home. And that actually looks pretty good. I don't know if I want to keep doing it on her because she doesn't like it. Okay, so the chin is uneven, and one way to make sure that it is even a little bit easier, use your thinning shears. If you use the other shears, it doesn't work so well because it doesn't it makes a line, and then you can see that line a lot easier, and it doesn't look good. Use your thinning shears. A lot of easy to miss spots are right here. So I just use the thinning shears because obviously the clippers didn't work for me. Just blend it to the same length as the body. Always be careful of the ear, which is right here. And you can see the sticky outies right here, so I'm just going to be very careful with this. With her, she likes to move, so I'm going to put this on Tarzan loop. So that means one leg, and then just put that up like that. You can also use this for dogs that can't have stuff on their necks, like they have a trachea issue, or they're older and or they have a frail neck of some way. Or they're pancakers. They like to lie flat on the table. Make sure that all this stuff is even. Go down. Again, the neck is a really sensitive spot too. So if it's a super short length, just go over it with the blade, but I'm just gonna do this because it is easier with a longer length on her. Okay, and she is done. If the dog has tartar that is so bad that it smells like poop or looks just horrible, like there's stuff on it, on their teeth, don't do their teeth. But she's got really good teeth, so we're gonna brush her teeth too. I like to use the foam. You don't have to put any toothbrush in there. Most of the dogs don't like it, like her. Clean the dog's ears as well. You take cotton ball, they're bigger, you break them apart. You take some ear cleaner. You just barely do a scoop. And hers are not dirty at all. If they are not allergic to anything, like the pet parent doesn't say hypo, then I like to give them a spray of any kind of scent spray. It's fall, so I like to use this one right now. And it makes me want one every time I smell it. And this is Zoe's haircut. She's all done.